Morning, UCM. Well, for me, I'm a few days into summer vacation right now, but most of the year I work as an English teacher. And because I'm an English teacher, I spend my work days guiding eighth grade students to become better readers and writers. And we do this by analyzing models of quality writing and teaching how we can apply these strategies to our own compositions. One of the things we teach middle school students when it comes to analyzing plot structure is to use something we call story graphs. This idea was developed by author Kurt Vonnegut. He reasoned that most stories could be boiled down to just a few graphs that he named Man in Whole, Boy Meets Girl, and Cinderella. What Vonnegut calls Man in Whole is a simple plot line where the main character goes through a time of conflict, only to emerge on the other side, better off than he was before. This is a common plot line we see in many traditional stories and fables from around the world. Boy Meets Girl is another familiar storyline where the exposition moves quickly. Something then goes very wrong, and then the problem is resolved with a happy ending. We see this story graph quite often in movies, especially romantic comedies. The so-called Cinderella plot graph is quite different from the other two. It begins with a lot of building tension and apparent climax that is followed by a time of devastation. And eventually, after a while, an off-the-charts happy ending. Well, fiction readers know that every story involves conflict. It is what drives the plot, building the tension until the story reaches its turning point. Sometimes this conflict is internal, and sometimes it is external and beyond the control of the character. As we read, we may find ourselves on the edge of our seat, rooting for the protagonist to get that happily ever after ending. It is the conflict that keeps us reading. Without it, that graph would be flat, and there would really be no story. So, why is it so entertaining to read about fictional characters and their conflicts, but a different story altogether when we look at our own life experiences? When our lives are difficult, people often ask, where is God in this situation? Friends, while we live between the Garden of Eden and the promises of Revelation, we will experience conflict. In Romans 5, verses 3-4, it says, we also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Paul is telling us here that in life, we will have times when we suffer, but that suffering helps us. Just like the characters in the stories we read, who learn and grow as they experience conflict, we are also changed during our times of difficulty. Paul tells us, though, that we can anticipate hope. But we may have to go through times of trouble before we reach our off-the-charts happy ending. But the good news is that we have companions for our journey. God is with us, and we have each other. And we can take comfort in Jesus' words from John 16:33, when he said to his disciples, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." On that note, let's take a look back at that Cinderella story graph. Do you see how it also shows the story of the Bible? The building tensions of the Old Testament covenants, the prophecies, the waiting, the dramatic climax of Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem, followed by the apparent devastation of the crucifixion and the tomb. But look at how it ends. The graph cannot contain the happiness that is to come. Be hopeful, UCM, for he has already overcome the problems of our stories and of this world. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you so much that you are with us in our struggles. And Lord, although most of us would never choose to go through conflict, Lord, we know that it changes us. It reminds us that we need you, and it reminds us of the hope to come. For you have already overcome the world. So what do we have to fear? Lord, I just pray that we would take heart in your words, that we would find comfort in them, and that we would look forward to the hope that is to come. Amen.